Доброго дня, шановні.
Good afternoon, dear ladies and gentlemen. UCMC continues its work. We greet everyone who joined us here and online. The topic of the next press briefing is necessary step to introduce digital visa-free region with the EU. We are giving the floor to our speakers. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lyubov Vakulenko, Executive Director of Analytical Center, European Center for European Policy. Today, this is in eve of Christmas, and we would like to present our report about steps to introduce a digital visa-free regime with EU. I would like to introduce our speakers: Andriy Melashchenko, expert, PhD, Institute of Cybernetics Sciences. Gulsana Mamadieva, Director General of Directorate of European Integration at the Ministry of Digital Transformation of Ukraine. Also, will be joined by Mezentseva, Deputy Head of the Committee of the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine on integration of Ukraine with the European Union. Also, online will be joined by Marchuk, candidate of economy scientist, Deloitte consultant, and also online we'll have Oleksandr Hrubiyan, Deputy Minister of Finances, concerning the issues digital development, transformation, and digitalization. Before giving the floor to Andriy, who is the author of this research, I would like to explain why we decided to present this research on the eve of Christmas. We have three reasons for this. First, connected with the fact that this is one of not many spheres where Ukraine may fully integrate with EU to get a regime of the internal market, and also this is one of the areas where we have simultaneous development with the European Union, and European Union does not have, for example, 50 years experience. We are developing and they are developing in this area. We looked at the problems of Europeans that they face. Only 15 people buy online in the EU countries, and 7% sell the products in digital market. This is the data for June 2020. Pandemic forces European to go online, and I understand that these figures do not relate to Estonia, but we looked at overall picture and we see that they have their own issues that they want to deal with. Also, Ukraine has its own issues that should be resolved in order to develop this sector. And the third reason why we carried out this research, this is my personal story that happened during pandemic in March, when we had to submit reports to our donors. It was difficult to do because everything was closed. It was difficult to meet experts, and I decided to use electronic documentation. And I contacted Andriy, and he said that I shouldn't do this because there will be huge problems with tech office because these documents may not be recognized by the tax office. And we decided to study this issue of integration to the single digital market. This is one of the aspects that help us to provide for this integration. And we decided to make this report. We do our work at our own level, and I would like to give the floor to Andriy in order to have a presentation, and we'll speak about our home task in the territory of Ukraine. Thank you very much. Thank you, Luba, for this introduction that brings us closer to our report. Dear colleagues, I would like to say that I participated in real visa-free regime, and we use this regime now. I have real experience, and I see the way we went through and the way ahead of us, and we want to look in this research at the instruments provided by the single digital market, what instruments we can use in Ukraine in order to speed up and improve lives of our citizens and our business. I would like to say that the digital market is a broad framework, and I hope that Gulsana will tell you more about our plans concerning integration, comprehensive integration into the digital market. And our ministries do a lot of work with Brussels to integrate into all the aspects of this market. But in the framework of the association agreement, we have clearly identified clear home task. These are three areas: telecom, services, and e-commerce. There is implementation of 90%. In telecom, we have trusted services, 90% implementation, and the parliament also adopted the law. We are moving rather fast. As Luba said, telecom legislation we implemented, and not all the countries that are EU members have implemented it in full. So physical visa-free mode and digital visa-free mode, this is not enough to use all the benefits. This instrument should be used in the proper framework. And trusted services implemented into Ukrainian legislation in 2019. They were implemented fully. Now we have to see what benefit they can bring to business and citizens. Before, I would like to stress the benefits. Due to the Ministry of Digital Transformation, Renaissance Foundation, and Kiev Economic School, we made some calculations together with them, and we may get up to 3 million in up to 1.5 billion if we fully integrate and use these instruments with EU, up to 12% of boost the Ukrainian economy. We should understand what we should do in order to reach these figures and not that they be felt by citizens and business. We started to study services, state services, the mechanisms that are used to provide services to citizens online. While we looked at services, because in accordance with the International Index of governance, we see that Ukraine is lagging behind a little bit from the international leaders and regional leaders. And the same we have in telecom and infrastructure. In both these areas, telecom, as I said, the reforms are implemented, and 1.5 billion would be spent to connect social objects to the network, and we have a big capital, human capital, people, and we now have better positions in this rating of e-governance, and people need to have a proper framework and to be able to work properly. And we wanted to consider some steps that look good on paper, but as said, the example are electronic contracts. These are contractual relations of businesses and people. This is a painful issue in Ukraine, and not only in Ukraine. And in accordance with the graphics of the European Union, this is a huge economic potential. In accordance with the analytics of the EU, electronic contracts, they cost on average 5 times less. And on the slide, you may see that life cycle costs 50 to 100 euros, and electronic from 10 to 20. Also, there is speed control. You should understand that except money, we have important factors such as control, because often some actions should be carried out timely, and if we have complicated documents, we should see how they go through. For example, you need to have some stimulation and to provide proper functioning of the system. Also, trusted services. This is the instrument, basic digital infrastructure, I call this. We consider only contracts, but we understand that there are a lot of relations, contractual relations, and electronic contracts, they are of use in many relations between the citizens and businesses, and in accordance with legislation. A document, this should include a signature, and this means that you undertook some obligations, and trusted services, they provide the service of qualified electronic signature. Signature is not enough because you should exchange the documents, and in bad situations when the receiver doesn't want to get the document using mail, they may lose your documents. And here we have registered delivery, trusted service, and it guarantees the transportation of the document. And now there is lack of money in judiciary system for the stamps, post stamps. We face this problem now. And these trusted services provide basic operations that we do not only with the documents, but also with identification, verification, archiving, security of the sites, and other functions. Important factor in the introduction of these services, this is not only a legislative basis that exists in Ukraine. We adopted the law and the acts of the Cabinet of the Ministers, and the European standards were adopted, and European standards are regulated, but still we cannot sign electronically contracts in Word. For this, we use more complicated processes. And here a task appears to understand that we have this infrastructure, but we still cannot use it in full because technical means are lacking. And here I go back to physical visa-free regime that we got. One of the components was a biometric passport, and everyone who travels to Europe know that they should get this visa, they should get this passport, and it is standardized by IATA. There are standards, and all customs officers and bodyguards, they should be able to accept this passport, and that you be able to get visa-free regime. And the big plus for us as a country that goes to the European Union is that European Commission, understanding the difficulty of this area, and it developed free of charge application that can be used commercially. So the European Union now has all necessary standards and laws. And as the slide shows, the directorates of the European Commission, they use this software. And in fall this year, they signed an agreement with the European Union International Bank. They did that exclusively electronically with the use of software of the European Union. So we looked at the implementation of Ukrainian state services and the use of this instrument, because this instrument is great. And Ukraine summit confirmed that we really moved forward in the implementation of the trusted services. And Europe supported us in this recognition of these documents exchange. And now we have some problems with technical character that do not allow us to use this legal instrument. And there is a difficulty in this digitalization because technologies should live simultaneously with lawyers, and they should understand each other.
So summing up our research, we need the audit from the EU side, because not all the documents will be able to function in the way we expect. And on the Ukraine-EU summit, it was confirmed that both sides will develop a plan on the EU audit of Ukrainian trustee services. Also, we will provide the developers with good samples how this system function in many places. And including the one developed by the EU, which is not obligatory protected by the copyright. And we will encourage business participants to contribute to this comprehensive task and help us with the development of this software more quickly. The Ministry of Digitalization, of course, plans for very general, broad skill raising campaign about population, but here we need more narrow training for accountants, for financial experts, for tax inspectors and other government agencies which work with legal documents and certified documents and have to be able to check them. Perhaps many of you saw how President-elect Biden took vaccination live. And like that show, we would like to have a similar show with electronic document circulation here in Ukraine. For example, when the president signs the document live, but electronically, it immediately is shown in the network that it is signed. It immediately could be launched into operation. We believe that this will be able to promote broad use of these instruments in this country. Thank you, Andriy, for your presentation. I believe this is the first research where we apply to the first primary officials of the state and encourage them to use and stimulate the digital services in the country. As Andriy mentioned, lawyers worked perfectly, but here we come to the working level and we have to translate this legislation to the operational level. With this, I would like to give the floor to Gulsana Mamadieva, Director General of the European Integration Directorate, and she will comment what steps have been done by the government and what Ukraine is signing party is planning to do. For the Ministry of Digital Transformation, Euro integrational trend is of special importance. When we measure that 95% of Ukrainian population have access to broadband internet, 80% have IT skills or computer user skills. So all those objectives are interrelated and they are parts of the same picture. I will describe our one aspect of our discussions with the EU, specifically in the area of trustee services. As for the roadmap for Ukraine, in relation to the digital single market. There is a huge task. There are dozens of state agencies that are involved. There is 141 point of events, and bigger part of that deal is the digital payments, digital skills, digital signatures, electronic signature, etc. But the core of this thing is our commitment according to the association agreement. Quite recently, we actually had to make a new commitment in this area related to the new digital key, and so the telecommunications and trustee services are the core of the trustee services that we discuss. Just to mention few items, implementation of the digital code of EU, which is now being implemented by European member states, and this is a commitment for us too. Then transformation of the current regulator, its independence, which is an important component in our track for the internal market. Then the system of electronic trustee services adequate to the European. We have electronic smart DIA, which is rather dynamic and mobile approach, but the following should be in line with the standards of the European Union: and access to the broadband internet, freeing the radio frequency resources for implementation of the 5G services. We have very ambitious goals, implementation of a unified emergency number 112 line according to our commitments to the EU. This requires longer time and a lot of effort. Then cyber security, cyber defense, so to say. And the last but not least, inclusion of Ukraine to the DESI register, DESI index. Here we have a chance to become the first non-EU member country who is the member of this DESI rating, which would allow us to understand what is our position in relation to the digitalization in Europe. But that's it. But if you ask me why this is all needed, we want to get the regime of the internal market. We have this window of opportunity. We may decide how it will be organized and how it will be functioning. And as of this moment, we understand that this will be trade without barriers in the telecommunications area. Ukrainian legal entities will be able to offer services to Europeans and vice versa. Here I would like to refer to very sound and encouraging research, which we considered in our decision making, which suggests that this may raise the GDP by almost 0.2%. Then harmonization of the trustee services with the EU standards. This year at the Ukraine-EU summit, we came to decision that we will combine general action plan between two countries. The plan is drafted and coordinated at the committee, and at this moment, this is a working plan, a tentative plan, which is at the finalization stage, and it is at the stage of coordination. In my opinion, we have reached a good success here, that we managed to involve the EU experts into continuous monitoring and feedback about this instrument and its operation. So this action plan, which I mentioned, is written for 2 years. We believe that this will be a breakthrough for Ukraine. I'm not ready to discuss technical details of that because I'm an international lawyer. And actually here, as a lawyers, we just follow what is made by the technical experts. We piloted 2 big trans-border pilot projects, e-signature and e-delivery. E-signature we piloted with Estonia. This is a recognition of trustee services of electronic signatures by legal entities in Ukraine, in Estonia and Moldova. We tested technical issues and now are finalizing the legal aspects of this case. E-delivery is a pilot project about electronic invoices. The issue is that partner countries may exchange with electronic invoices, and these electronic invoices should be recognized as valid by customs of Ukraine, by the National Bank of Ukraine, by the financial monitoring bodies, etc. Especially for electronic invoices, which are commercially meaningful, so to say, significant, commercially significant. When we started that project, we had a full understanding how useful it was for business, for transborder operations, but now we realize that this solution might be also very interesting for and very good solution for the public procurement inside the country for internal market. In our movement towards the paper-free business documentation, this might be another step forward. All those processes which I just described, they are moving with various speeds. And for example, unlike technical sides of those pilots, the legal side of them and legal verification of the processes takes even more time than technical details. We have to coordinate everything with the Ministry of Economy and the Ministry of Justice, and this shows that this digital visa-free regime is excellent idea, but there are a lot of things which we have to develop for this on the one hand. On the other hand, what benefits, what advantages will Ukraine get in result of this move? Telecommunications sector, yes, they will gain something, but we want to make the next step and allow Europeans to buy things in Ukraine, and vice versa. We want Ukrainians to be able to buy in the EU. So this roadmap, which I've been discussing in my intervention, they are all those elements which complement to it. So recently we presented that roadmap, and we have very positive vision of the nearest future. Thank you. Thank you for very detailed presentation where you have just described that the work is very practical, that you have tested all the procedures on pilot projects. I've noted 141 event. I assume it's a big figure, and keeping in mind that we have the Digital Transformation Committee in Verkhovna Rada, but perhaps the European Integration Committee is another your partner. We have invited Maria, perhaps as a member of the European Integration Parliamentary Committee. Perhaps you have your own vision what problems might be solved via digital visa-free regime. When we discuss, thank you, when we discuss the digital market, people start thinking about electronic communications, about telecom. It's easy to discuss Euro integration, not only in the aspect of the fresh air, but also from the modern trends point of view, including digitalization. For businesses, the market of trustee services is primarily important to all sorts of businesses, irrespective of the size. Quite recently, we attended the conference of aspects, which pointed out that to that loophole in legislation which we have now. In reality, the tax legislation allows signing of the contracts, digital contracts between parties, but someday the tax authority or tax inspection may request the hard copy contract from you, and our task is to fill in this loophole and allow the businesses in these cases to be able to present the digitally signed copies of the contracts. Why do we add this magic word visa-free to the digital services? Because speaking about electronic signatures, we mean, first of all, or keep in mind, first of all, Ukrainian internal market. But on the same time, if we are able to enter 58 million of European market, why not? Then we will be able to offer something quite useful without, which does not require too much resources to international businesses, to European businesses, that they are able to approach to Ukrainian potential partners without delays, without red tape, and without excessive expenditures. We may expect the increase in volumes of goods and services that will be exchange or trade between Ukraine and the EU. And I would add that you should approach also in advance to the tax committee, because this is a committee which is rather tough to deal with, but I believe that you will need to discuss the rates of taxes for banks for processing such digital invoices, etc., etc. As far as I understood, you will require amendments to the tax code to have a clear algorithm how to tackle the computer documents, electronic documents of businesses, and will allow to process them and consider them as a hard copies, equally to the hard copies. Maria Mezentseva promised to approach to this task in the parliament. So my question now, do you agree that businesses are scared to shift to the digital circulation of documents?
Thank you, dear colleagues, for inviting me to this discussion. As of today, we are glad to hear about the initiatives that are voiced by the Ministry of the Digital Transformation, by Maria from the committee, and I believe that Deputy Minister Finance also will provide us with some positive information about positive development in the area. And in the Deloitte, we speak a lot with business, and there is a request for digitalization. This request increased because of pandemic. I believe everyone understands this. And companies, they are at different level of development, at different steps in introduction of electronic documents. And we met with companies who are at the start. They assess risks of going to electronic document processing. Also, there are companies that decided to make some documents electronic, and there are some problems with the primary documentation, and then also there are companies that liberally interpret legislation. They believe that everything is allowed, and they quickly shift to electronic documents where they can, and they develop the positions that they will present during tax checks that they will tax audits that they will have in the future. There is a standard list of concerns voiced by business. Many of them are related not with agreements, the majority of questions about primary documentation, because they understand that everything will be audited, and they should be able to deal with these issues. and about the dates of the primary documents signatures, how it will all be recognized by tax office, and also how to archive documents correctly, how to correct them, how to call them correctly, and how to name these documents. Names, structure of archives. These standards were adopted in 2011. Latest trends are not taken into account, that there are many technical aspects that may influence influence the tax issues when the audit will be carried out. And these issues are discussed. And also there are issues concerning value-added tax and the date of the document. And there are positive developments. And we are waiting for the resolution of the key aspects. And the European Business Association and the American Chamber of Commerce, they deal with these issues, and we hope that they will be resolved soon. And also the process, how this audit looks like. So now auditors come and they check your documents. And if we go into detail about electronic audit, there are many questions concerning legislation and business. Legal issues, for example. We have one article in tax code that regulates these issues, how these documents should be provided, and in what form they should be provided. We may find some details only about big taxpayers. SMEs do not clearly understand what should be done, whether they should provide documents on flash memory stick, or they should demonstrate this document to an auditor, how to establish whether this document was checked by the auditor. And also there is another side of the coin. A document is a specific story that may have different formats. And it should be verified properly at the ministry site. We are speaking about electronic signature to verify authenticity of the data. We should be more empathic. We should understand that efficient audit may be done when it is not only on paper. There should be proper training for auditors, and they should get proper training how to check the documents, how to check the signature, whether it is done correctly. So these things should be done comprehensively. We hear a lot of discussions. There are many positive initiatives, and the state is working in many directions. And I believe that in foreseeable future, we will be able to reach the new level of cooperation in this area. Thank you. Thank you, Roman. I analyzed the speeches of our speakers. Some of them are optimists. And as Gulsana said, we should enter this digital market, and there is business that is not afraid and shift to electronic documents. And there are people like me who are afraid of using this electronic documentation. So now we are divided into two groups. Now I'd like to give the floor to Oleksandr and to ask him whether you are ready to join this initiative that Maria voiced. This will be a small step, but it should be made to introduce changes to the tax code and the order. And this order should be developed by the ministry. And what does the ministry do in this area? Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Thank you for this invitation to participate in this interesting discussion. I thank Andriy for this in-depth research and this good reports from the speakers. I would like to focus And I will narrow my speech. I will speak about public finances, state finances, because the Ministry of Finance deal with these issues, first of all. And the Ministry of Finance is also dealing with electronic contracts as of today, what we do and what we plan to do. As of today, we have such a landscape. By the order of the government in 2019, the order was changed as of 2016 concerning integrated system that is called transparent budget. In 2019, we provided a definition, electronic contract, a system of electronic contracts. As of today, we implement this concept, and we supported proper documents supported by our international partners, and a procedure was launched to create prototype of the system. We are speaking about the use of the system for public finances. The state buys. This is close integration with the system of procurement that is administered by Prozoro. And as of today, we rethink the lines of this project to make this more digitalized, to provide more benefit for business that participate in trading and international business that will also be involved in the standards, and to provide proper functioning of the contract system. Now we have fruitful cooperation together with the Ministry of Digitalization and the Ministry of Economy, and we have a number of meetings, and we are trying to redesign the system that will provide maximum benefit for all parties involved in the process. What we envisage, this project should cover such areas. This contract should be legally significant. It should be accepted by the Treasury, and there should be proper integrated system of the contract system and Treasury. The system of electronic contract should be integrated with the procurement system. And the system should publish all the announcements based on the results of the tenders. The system should envisage the possibility to sign documents electronically. Also, it should envisage place of permanent storage of this contract, and all the surveillance, all the bodies of supervision should be able to check who signed this document, and the document should be stored for the term established by law. Also, I would like to say that we envisage that the system of storage of documents, it should be machine reading system, and also should and also the contract should be also presented on the site, and also there should be publication that will be done automatically. All these processes should be fully digitalized, and they should be implemented in the system, and they should be integrated into the trust system and the European system of contracts. And we are dealing with this actively, and I believe in the nearest future we will be able to demonstrate some results on this way. Maybe not for all the groups of the product, not for all the contracts, but we are planning to launch such pilots during the next year. Thank you. Thank you, Oleksandr. We next year going to do this in January after Christmas, we will implement this initiative. Maria mentioned that I see that the Ministry of Finance really support us, that this direction should be promoted, and the Ministry of Digital Transformation also provide its contribution, and we as a center also will contribute to this in order that Ukraine be able to join the digital market of the European Union. I wish everyone happy Christmas. Merry Christmas. And do you have some questions? I am so used to this online format, so no one can ask questions because there are no people now in the hall. Do you have some questions? No, no one has a question, so we will publish our materials after the event. I wish everyone to have a nice holiday and all the best to all of you.